America turns 200, fireworks in the sky, and something just as explosive on the airwaves. Disco is rising, soul is evolving, rock is bending, and in the middle of it all, a strange kind of magic happens. Because this isn't about legends, this is about moments. 10 songs, 10 artists, one perfect hit each that refuses to fade, even 50 years later. Welcome to vibezcure. Let's rewind the needle. Number 10, A Fifth of Beethoven by Walter Murphy. A room full of expectations and one idea that doesn't belong. That's where this begins. Not in a club, not under lights, but in the mind of Walter Murphy, a musician trained to respect structure, tradition, discipline. The kind of training that teaches you where the lines are and why you shouldn't cross them. And then he crosses them anyway. Because somewhere between arranging for television orchestras and writing commercial jingles, a question forms. Quiet at first, almost dismissible. What if the old world could move like the new one? Not metaphorically, literally. What if Ludwig van Beethoven, with all that weight, all that history, could step onto a dance floor and not just survive, but lead? The risk is obvious. You don't touch Beethoven lightly, and you don't bend something that's been held upright for centuries. But Murphy doesn't approach it like a gimmick. He approaches it like translation. The famous motif, those 4 notes that feel like a door being knocked down, he keeps them intact, untouched, sacred. Everything else he rebuilds. The strings no longer sit politely, they surge. The rhythm section doesn't wait for cues, it establishes command. Kick drum steady, relentless, like a pulse that belongs to bodies, not concert halls. And underneath it all, there's intention, not to mock, not to modernize for novelty, but to prove something. That rhythm is timeless, that structure can travel, that feeling doesn't expire. When the record is finished, it doesn't sound confused, it sounds inevitable. But the industry doesn't hear inevitability at first. They hear risk. And they hesitate. They pass. They wonder who this is for. Because it doesn't fit the boxes. Too classical for disco. Too disco for classical. And that's always the danger, when something arrives before people know how to categorize it. But then, it finds its way out, onto radio, into rotation, into rooms where people aren't thinking about genre. They're thinking about movement. And slowly, it spreads. Not explosively, not overnight, but steadily. Week by week. The kind of climb that feels organic, unforced. Until suddenly, without warning, it's sitting at number 1. Number 9, Turn the Beat Around by Vicki Sue Robinson. Before the first note lands, there's already motion. You can feel it coming. Not melody, not lyrics, rhythm. Because this song doesn't begin with a voice, it begins with intention. Percussion steps forward, like it has something to say. Congas speaking in patterns that feel older than the room they're in. Hi-hats flickering like signals. A groove assembling itself piece by piece. As if each instrument already knows its role before the downbeat hits. And then Vicki Sue Robinson enters. Not softly, not cautiously. She arrives with purpose. Her voice doesn't sit on top of the rhythm. It locks into it, drives it forward, commands it to keep moving. Turn the beat around. It lands like instruction, like direction. It's like she's not just singing to the band, She's shaping the room itself, and that's where her background shows. Broadway, projection, precision, control. She understands space. She understands how sound travels, how energy builds, how a performance doesn't just exist, it expands. So when she sings, it's not contained, it reaches. The arrangement responds. Brass stabs cut through like flashes, sharp, deliberate. Strings sweep in, not for softness, but for lift. Everything is layered, but nothing is cluttered. This is disco at its most disciplined. Energy. With structure, and inside that structure, Robinson moves freely. Pushing, pulling, accelerating. You don't just hear her, you follow her. The timing couldn't be better. Disco isn't emerging anymore, it's taking over. Dance floors are becoming the center of gravity. And this record understands exactly how to exist there. It doesn't overcomplicate, it doesn't underdeliver. It hits the body first, then the mind. Top 10 on the charts. But more importantly, constant presence in clubs where charts don't matter. Because that's where songs like this prove themselves, not in rankings, in reaction, feet moving, rooms filling, energy sustaining itself longer than the record's runtime. For a moment, it feels like the beginning of something bigger, like Robinson has found her lane. But the industry doesn't always reward consistency. Sometimes it rewards moments. And when the moment passes, it moves on quickly. Follow-ups don't connect the same way. Not because the voice disappears, not because the talent fades, but because alignment is rare. Right sound, right time, right context. Number 8, Moonlight Feels Right by Starbuck. Some songs don't arrive with impact, they arrive with atmosphere.
I caught it in my hands today.
This is one of them. It doesn't rush to introduce itself, it doesn't demand attention. It creates a space and waits for you to notice. A soft groove settles in first, not heavy, not urgent, just present. Drums that feel like they're breathing.
Back and observe the constellations and watch the moon.
Breathing instead of driving. Bass that moves gently like it's aware of the room it's in. And then the marimba. Clear, bright, unmistakable. Each note lands with intention, but without pressure. It doesn't compete for attention, it earns it. Slowly, repeatedly, until it becomes the thing you can't unhear.
Made a tricky French connection. You winked and gave.
That's the hook. Not loud, not aggressive, memorable. Starbuck understands restraint. Vocals come in smooth, almost conversational. No strain, no urgency to impress. Just tone, a placement and timing. Everything about the performance feels balanced.
Feels right.
Nothing is reaching too far, nothing is holding back too much, and that balance creates something rare. Comfort, the kind of comfort that doesn't put you to sleep, but lets you stay. This is a nighttime record. Not the loud part of the night, the quiet part, when conversations slow down, when the air changes temperature, when the world feels temporarily aligned. And in that space, this song fits perfectly. Radio picks it up. At first, it stands out because it doesn't sound like everything else. Disco is louder, rock is heavier, but this is different. And difference, when it connects, spreads. Number 3 on the charts, Months of Rotation, a song that becomes part of the season it exists in. Spring turning into summer, our evenings stretching longer, and that marimba, always there, threading through memory. They try to follow it. Of course they do.
Giving you a warning. It's me and moon.
But this kind of moment isn't built from formula. You can't recreate atmosphere on command. You can't manufacture ease. So the follow-ups land and pass. The charts move forward, but this song, it doesn't need momentum anymore.
Inside the ocean and drop the top of jet.
It has identity, because even now, decades later, it only takes a few notes. And you're back there, same feeling, same space. Moonlight still feels right. Number 7, Shannon by Henry Gross. It begins quietly, no grand entrance, no dramatic declaration, just a voice, stepping carefully into a memory. Henry Gross doesn't rush this. He doesn't try to overwhelm the listener. Instead, he creates space, wide, open, almost fragile. Acoustic guitar lays the foundation, gentle, steady, like something you can hold on to. Strings drift in behind it, not to dominate, but to color the emotion already there. And then the story unfolds. Not about fame, not about romance, about loss. Inspired by Carl Wilson's Irish setter, Shannon. But it doesn't stay that specific for long, because the way Gross delivers it, it expands. It becomes about absence, about the shape something leaves behind when it's gone. And that's where the song divides people. Some listeners lean in. They hear sincerity. They recognize the feeling immediately. They let the simplicity do its work. Others resist it. They hear too much sentiment, too much softness. They question it. But that tension, that split reaction, is part of what keeps the song alive. And I know this song, because it doesn't hide. There's no irony here, no distance, no clever detour to protect the emotion. It's direct, and directness is risky, but when it lands deep. By the summer of 1976, it's everywhere. Radio rotation doesn't let you escape it. You hear it in cars, in homes, in places you didn't expect to feel something, and every time it brings the same question. Do you let it in or push it away? Top 10 on the charts, a defining moment for Gross. And then, the silence that follows. No follow-up breaks through the same way. Because how do you repeat something that personal without it feeling forced? How do you recreate sincerity on demand? You don't. So the industry moves on, but the song stays. And over time, its reputation shifts. What once felt too soft starts to feel honest. What once felt excessive starts to feel rare, because music doesn't often risk being this open anymore. And that's why Shannon endures. Not because everyone agrees on it, but because everyone feels something when it plays. Number 6, Fooled Around and Fell in Love by Elvin Bishop. It doesn't start with a declaration. It starts mid-thought, like someone already deep into a confession they didn't plan to make. Guitar lines from Elvin Bishop drift in first, loose, controlled, unhurried. Blues-rooted but not heavy. Just enough to set a tone without locking it down. Then comes the voice, Mickey Thomas. Smooth, but not effortless. There's texture in it, a slight edge that suggests experience, mistakes, stories that didn't end cleanly. And that's important, because this song isn't about love as a goal, it's about love as a surprise, as something that interrupts. I must have been through about 1 million girls. The line doesn't brag. It reflects. It sets up a pattern, someone who thought they understood how things worked, and then didn't. In the arrangement knows exactly what to do with that story. It stays restrained, Drums keep a steady pocket, never pushing too hard. Bass supports without drawing attention. Guitar responds instead of leading. Everything makes room for the vocal, because the vocal carries the shift, from confidence to realization, from control to surrender. And that shift is universal. It doesn't belong to one genre, which is why the song travels. Rock stations pick it up, pop stations follow, even R&B audiences lean in. Number 3 on the charts, a crossover moment that feels natural, not engineered. Because emotion doesn't recognize format. For a brief time, it looks like a new phase is beginning for Bishop. But chemistry is fragile, and this particular chemistry, the balance between Bishop's playing and Thomas's voice, doesn't hold. Well, Thomas moves on, joins Jefferson's Starship, finds success there. Bishop continues, respected, active, but never again in this exact light. Still, the song remains. Because it captures a moment most people understand, but don't always articulate. That point where you realize you weren't in control after all. And maybe that's the point. Number 5, Let Your Love Flow by the Bellamy Brothers. It opens without resistance, no tension, no build-up that needs to resolve, just a feeling, already in motion. Acoustic guitar sets the tone, bright, open, unguarded. Then harmony arrives. 2 voices, the Bellamy Brothers, locking
Grab you deep inside and send you reeling.
together with a kind of ease that can't be manufactured. There's no strain in it, no attempt to impress, just alignment, and that alignment carries everything. The melody doesn't twist or challenge.
Just let your love flow like a mountain stream.
It flows, exactly like the title suggests. Forward, smooth, continuous. It's a rare kind of optimism, not naive, not exaggerated, just present.
As it warms your face, you can't hold back.
And in 1976, that presence lands. Because not every song that year is light, not every record offers release without complication. This one does, and listeners respond immediately. Number 1 in the United States.
Feeling so high must be the season.
And then it spreads across Europe, across continents. Charts light up Germany, Switzerland, Austria, Canada. It's not just a hit, it's a wave. For a moment, it feels like the start of something massive. Like the Bellamy Brothers have found the exact formula that will carry them forward. But music doesn't always reward formulas, because what made this work wasn't structure, it was feeling. And feeling doesn't repeat on schedule. Follow-ups arrive and pass. The charts shift, attention moves, and suddenly the narrative changes. One-hit wonder, at least on the pop side. But here's where the story bends. Instead of chasing the same lane, they pivot. Country music, different audience, different expectations, and this time it holds. Hits, albums, longevity. A second act that lasts decades. But even with all that, this song remains the entry point. The moment everything opened. Because sometimes one hit doesn't define you, it introduces you. And everything after that is what you build with the door it opened. Number 4, Afternoon Delight by Starland Vocal Band. It arrives softly, no urgency, no edge, just harmony. Harmony, layered, careful, almost delicate. Voices stacking in a way that feels clean, controlled, intentional. Starland Vocal Band understands presentation. They know how to make something sound approachable, how to make it feel safe and
what could ever lead you? What could
to lean into. And that's the first move, because underneath that softness, there's something else, a suggestion, a meaning that doesn't fully reveal itself on first listen. Afternoon delight. The phrase sounds harmless, almost
Welcome back, and I smile.
playful, but as the song unfolds, the implication becomes clearer. Daytime romance, intimacy placed in the middle of ordinary hours. And that contrast, that tension between sound and subject, is what gives the song its staying power. Because it
And I know what it seems.
doesn't announce what it is. It lets you discover it. And once you do, the song changes. The harmonies don't feel as innocent. The delivery doesn't feel as neutral. There's intention in every line. And that realization spreads.
Now when I think how you must have been. And I
Listeners talk, interpret, react. Some embrace it, find it clever, even bold. Others reject it, too subtle, too strange, too wrapped in sweetness to feel real. But either way, they remember it. That's the key.
here where we need you.
Because in 1976, memory is currency, and this song earns it. #1 on the charts, Grammy wins, including Best New Artist. Momentum builds fast, television appearances, a variety show, a sense that this is just the beginning. But momentum isn't stability. Follow-ups arrive and don't connect. The audience that leaned in once doesn't lean in again the same way. And suddenly, everything that rose quickly starts to fall just as fast. The show gets cancelled, the spotlight shifts, and the group.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
#3, Welcome Back by John Sebastian. It feels familiar before you even place it. That's the first thing.
Back here where we need you.
Warmth, without explanation. John Sebastian writes it like he's not trying to impress you. He's trying to reach you. No elaborate structure, no complexity designed to stand out.
We always could spot a friend.
Just a melody that opens the door immediately. Welcome back. 2 words, but they carry weight because everyone understands return, coming back to something, to
Know what a scene you were learning in. Was there
somewhere, to someone. And in that simplicity, the song finds its power. Originally written for Welcome Back, Cotter, it wasn't meant to be a standalone hit. It was functional, purpose-built, a theme.
welcome back? Welcome back.
But something happens when it meets the audience. It expands. Beyond the show, beyond the screen, into something personal, because the feeling translates. And you don't need to know the characters. You don't need to follow
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back.
the plot. You just need to recognize the emotion, and people do. The song climbs, radio picks it up. It stretches from under a minute into a full-length single, and still feels natural.
Something that made you come back again.
Nothing added feels forced. #1 on the charts. A comeback moment for Sebastian, who had already seen success with the Lovin' Spoonful, then drifted away from it. And now, here it is again. For a moment it feels like a reset, like something new
Welcome back. Welcome back.
might follow. But it doesn't. The industry doesn't hold the door open long. Still, the song remains. Because its purpose wasn't to build a new chapter. It was to remind people of something they already understood. That being welcomed back is a feeling that never goes out of style.
Yeah, we tease him a lot 'cause we got him on the
#2, Play That Funky Music by Wild Cherry. It starts with a challenge, not planned, not written, heard. A voice from the crowd cutting through the noise. Play some funky music. And in that moment, something shifts. Wild Cherry is a rock band. That's their identity, their lane. But the room they're playing in wants something else. And instead of resisting it, they listen. That's the turning point. because adaptation isn't always comfortable. It means stepping outside what you know, letting go of control, risking how you're perceived. But when they lean into it, the result is immediate. Guitar changes tone, less edge, more groove. Bass steps forward, becomes central, not supportive. Drums lock into something tighter, more deliberate, and the rhythm thickens. By the time the song is recorded, it doesn't sound like a compromise. Or it sounds like discovery. The vocal rides the groove with confidence, aware of the shift, aware of the moment. There's a slight grit to it. Just enough to remind you where they came from, but the direction is clear, forward. When it hits the airwaves, it connects instantly, because it feels real. Not calculated, not manufactured, earned. #1 on the pop charts, #1 on the R&B charts. A rare crossover that doesn't dilute itself. It expands. 2 million copies. Awards, recognition, a moment where everything aligns. And then, the follow-up question arrives, what comes next? And that's where the story turns. Because what made this work wasn't repeatable. It was a response to a specific moment, a specific room, a specific demand. And when that moment passes, the formula doesn't hold. The band fades from the charts. But the song doesn't, because the groove is permanent. Play it anywhere, decades later, and the reaction is the same. Movement, recognition, energy returning instantly. Because some songs don't belong to a time, they belong to a feeling, and that feeling doesn't age. #1, Disco Duck by Rick Dees. It shouldn't work, that's the truth. Strip it down, and there's almost nothing there. A simple beat, a novelty idea, a voice imitating a duck. And yet, it becomes one of the biggest songs of the year. Rick Dees isn't coming from tradition. He's not building from musical lineage or technical mastery. He's coming from radio, from understanding attention, from knowing what makes people react. And in 1976, disco is everywhere. So instead of refining it, he exaggerates it, pushes it into absurdity. And that absurdity lands. Because sometimes audiences don't want depth, they want immediacy, something they can recognize instantly, something they can laugh at, repeat, share. And this song gives them exactly that. No delay, no complexity, just impact. Kids love it. All of it, which means it spreads fast into homes, into cars, into spaces where repetition builds familiarity. And familiarity builds success. #1 on the charts, millions of copies sold worldwide, a phenomenon. But here's the other side of immediacy. It fades just as quickly, because what's funny once becomes exhausting with repetition.
Thank you so very much.
Radio spins it constantly, the novelty wears thin, and the backlash begins. What was entertaining becomes irritating, what was light becomes overwhelming, and suddenly, the same thing that built the success
Thank you, Doc. We're getting down.
starts to undo it. Disco Duck becomes a symbol, not just of popularity, but of excess, of how far something can go before it tips over. Rick Dees tries to follow it, but the identity is already locked in. The Disco Duck gut.